Hey guys, before we get into the show, I just wanted to let you know I'm speaking at the CrossBorder Summit in China around the Canton Fair period this coming April. I'll be speaking alongside world-renowned speakers that include Anthony Lee, Brian Johnson, Will Cherland and many, many more. So go grab a ticket at globalfromasia.com/CrossBorder Summit. Hey guys, welcome back to Seller Sessions. Again, we bring back Ivelin. How you doing, Ivelin?
Very good self.
Excellent. For those who may not have heard the previous show, do you want to give a little bit of background on yourself?
Yeah, so I'm engineer by trade, industrial design, and then I turned working for myself, developing custom design products, which I sell on Amazon, and I have over 100 products now on Amazon, and including 9 successful Kickstarter projects.
Fantastic. So guys, today what we're talking about is that next step up that, we're talking private labeling, but we're talking about badging the product, maybe new packaging. But the next stage really is to create something more defensible around your business and that point of differentiation. So what we're looking at today is we're going to talk about the process that Ivelin's gone through with a product that he sells on Amazon, which may be a little bit more expensive than traditional private labeling. But if done in the right manner and the right way, it could make a big difference as a point of differentiation for when you're selling. So, Ivelin, let's talk about what product we're going to discuss today, because I know there's many of them.
The product name is Clever Kebab. It allows you to make 16 shish kebabs at once.
So what was the problem that you were solving with this? Obviously that you can make them in multiples, but where did the idea come from and why did you reach to get to 16?
So first of all, I discovered that there was only one product on the market that was doing exactly that. Not on the market, but on Amazon, it was the only one available. So I've seen the opportunity. So after checking for patents and other protections that could be in place, when you see one product, it's scary, right? So I checked the patents. I've seen that it's actually not patentable. The patent was expired in 1976.
Yeah.
So I decided to bring more value into that product and make it more appealing to the masses. Because the product that was selling on Amazon was basically made for restaurants.
Yeah.
So I decided, again, I'm going to get from another angle, make it accessible for people who use it in the kitchen, right, in the barbecue.
Yeah.
So make it accessible for bigger crowd.
Mm-hmm.
So I bought one of these products, examined it, what it is, and I started brainstorming how actually I can bring more value.
Yeah.
What I can combine with this product, how can I make it? So read the negative reviews. Common complaint was that the bite size was very small. So after we cook it, it becomes very small. The meat shrinks.
Yes.
So the first modification obviously was to make a little bit bigger.
Yeah.
So then the next thought was, okay, so what else people are using when they use this product? Obviously, they use a knife. When you have a knife, you need a knife sharpener. So I integrated a knife sharpener into the product.
Right, okay.
So step by step, doing that process, I've done 6-in-1 product. Instead of what was previously selling on Amazon, is just one product for solving one problem only. So I've solved 6 problems in the same product, which allowed me to reach to a bigger audience.
Okay, so putting that into practice, like for instance, you're an industrial engineer by trade, so you think about building products in a kind of process manner, yeah? Let's say you're an Amazon seller and you want to develop, make changes to a product, that level of modification where we will get further down the line, we'll talk about molds and stuff like that. Where do you start? I mean, did you start sketching out on the pad, and then what software would you use to then bring it to life, if you like, as an example?
So the first thing is you need to read the negative reviews. Everybody knows about this.
Yeah.
Even for a private label, you need the negative reviews. So extract all that information, and this gives you sometimes a direct answer what people are looking for, what they complain about. Yeah. This can lead to modification. The next step is to do a survey. Ask as many people as possible what they don't like and what they like in the product.
Yeah.
Collect as much information as possible, because then we use that information in the copy and to improve the product.
Yeah.
So at that point, no software is used. Just manually going, reading to the reviews, using that information. So then the next step, you hire an industrial designer.
Yeah.
They can be pretty inexpensive, especially if you hire someone from Europe, from some other countries. There are plenty of professionals that can do that for you.
Eastern Europe, for instance, the cost of living is a little bit cheaper in Eastern Europe, so sometimes the cost per living is lower, therefore the cost to hire someone is cheaper.
Exactly. So I hired someone from Serbia.
Yeah.
So guy with 20 years of experience doing a CAD design and all that stuff. So once I had the sketch in my head, I drew the sketch and I sent to the guy so he can do the 3D model of that idea.
Yeah. So what's involved in that? Because obviously you can sketch something out on a piece of paper, but then you've got to think about tolerance, the material, and how do you spec something for an industrial designer so that they can take it from there? Is it more so that you can articulate by having a conversation, sharing a screen on Skype, or how would you do it to get the full picture across to them so they can translate what's inside of your head?
So when you're just an Amazon seller, you have no idea about all this stuff, but you don't need to, right? Yeah. I know them because I'm in the business.
Yeah.
You hire someone who has a lot of experience, is engineering, molding, and so on. They know all this stuff. They will ask you the right questions. Sometimes you don't have the answer. Yeah. They can help you with that. They will give you additional ideas how you can develop that product. What should be the thickness of the wall and so on, right? All these questions that you have no idea, how to ask.
Yeah.
They will help you with that. Then you do your first prototype, which you can put in practice.
Yeah.
So in my case, I used the CNC machining, which is basically a drill that goes through the material and cuts through the material. So you can have like a real physical product that you can touch and use. Mm-hmm. So you put that to the test, like you use it, in my example, I use it in my kitchen. So we did a few barbecue parties. We see how this handles, what is the problem that we have with the product, where we are happy with the product, what else we can improve in that model. So these cycles, several times we had to redo the prototype until we are happy with the result. And sometimes what you're doing on a CNC is not possible in injection molding.
Yeah.
So all this information is correspondence between you and the designer that you're working with. At the end, you end up with a product that satisfies you, and most importantly, you put it to the test with many people, because your angle can be unique to you. You want to get feedback for as many people as possible. Mm-hmm. So this gives you the whole picture, and my next step was to test it on Kickstarter.
Yeah.
Because this will additionally, prove the point that I have. Test the market. Actually, is someone willing to buy the product? Because if you ask friends, they'll all be happy about your product, but are you willing to pay the money? Mm-hmm. And all the other benefits that you can get from crowdfunding. So
if we break this out a bit, so what would you say, and I mean, there's no exact amount because of the revisions are involved and stuff. So if you've got a product designer that you employ and it will help you out, what kind of money are we looking? Are we looking $300 to $500, maybe a bit more for that part of the process, as long as it's a simple product with not hundreds of revisions taking up lots of their time?
About $500 will suffice, to start the initial design and to have a 3D model so you can do your first prototype. A prototype depends on the product, how big it is.
Yeah.
Can vary for hundreds to thousands of dollars, of course.
Yeah, of course. Is there a way that it depend on, let's use a spatula as an example. I don't know anything about this world, so let's use a spatula example. Can you start with, instead of before going into using CNC machinery, because I know that can be expensive in the beginning, is there a way that you can get a lot of work done like in 3D printing, get an idea from there and then build up that way? Because I know you mentioned CNC, but are you tied to just CNC machinery, or Is it just product dependent?
It's product dependent and usually depends on the size. So if you have a little bit bigger size than 1 feet, for example, not many 3D printing solutions available, or probably will be more expensive. Also, we look at the price. The same result can be achieved in many different ways. You can do even the prototype, you can do manually if you like. You can use a styrofoam or wood, depends what is the product.
Yeah.
So we're looking for the most cost-effective way to make a workable model of that product. So in silicon spatula, you can even do it with wood or some kind of modeling paste even, right? Yep. All of that, also with communication with your designer, they can help you. A lot of them, they work with the prototyping companies as well.
Yeah, so they've got the connections there. As long as you've got the first connection of the experienced product designer, when it comes to the manufacturing and modeling, they will have contacts in place generally.
Exactly. So this is what they do all day long for years.
Yeah.
They have all the connections. They know how this works. They can help you with all that information.
Okay. And then so let's say, for instance, we've got through those stages, we've got a working prototype. Talk to me about the next phase, which is obviously dealing with China in most cases, but creating a mold, and what's the steps there? So
creating a mold can be very expensive.
Yeah.
So mold, this is how it works. It's a big chunk of metal where you drill through the material so you can make a cavity. So the more cavities you have, the more expensive will be the mold.
Yeah.
And of course, the bigger the product, the more expensive will be the mold.
Yeah.
So this can be several $1,000s. It can be $5,000. It can be $50,000.
Yeah.
On the product. So let's take an example of the clever kebab, for example. So the mold for that was 3-cavity product, 3-cavity mold, which was about $25,000 cost.
Right. Okay.
So for most people, that's a pretty expensive mold to afford. That's why I went to crowdfunding. So in addition to verifying the idea and collecting even more feedback from people, I was able to get the funds before I even start manufacturing the product.
Yeah.
So this helps you to verify your idea and to fund the idea so you can start manufacturing.
So did you use the crowdfunding basically to cover the 25K? So that obviously when you insert that into your business, you've just reduced that as a cost, and it'd be a level playing field as launching it, if you like, as on the same level playing field as private label sellers, because they've not got the mold.
So imagine that you start with private label for the first time, and you order the minimum order quantity of 500 units. Mm-hmm. Imagine how many times you have to scale the inventory.
Yeah.
So you can reach to the $25,000, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's probably a few years for most people.
Yes.
With the crowdfunding, you can just step on the next step and start big right from the first time. You know, you're just launching the first product. You have the money for the minimum order quantity and for the production.
Yeah, and what I mean, I'm again, crowdfunding is not something I've really paid much attention to. I know it's been a big buzz over the last few years, but you know, what are the crowdfunding people? What are they getting back? Because basically, it's an investment. I understand the concept of it, but what were you offering the people that invested in that product in the short and long term?
So crowdfunding. It's a completely different audience from what you expect from Amazon or eBay, whatever. So these people are willing to give you money upfront several months before they see the product. Yeah. The question was again, sorry.
Well, it's just what do you give back to them? You know, obviously they get
the rewards.
They get a reward from it, but is there any long term, like if you kick in this amount of money, you'll get this return on your investment, or is it literally giving them a physical product, like the first off the line and that kind of thing?
But it's usually the product itself, so discounted product. So the first product that comes out of the factory, let's say the manufacturing cost is $10. You're giving them at $12. Let's an example. Yeah. This is their reward. They get a cheap product that they want, and they're the first one to be able to use that product.
Yeah, cool. All right, so let's just say you've had a successful campaign. the next stage. Let's talk about a bit more about the mold and how they're protected at the factory and the communications with the factory and the minimum order quantities and how many runs in production you get out the mold and stuff like that.
So when you do molding, when you do something from scratch, usually you have a very high minimum order quantity. It's not like the private label. A private label is when you already have products manufactured, and then all they do is probably stamp a logo on that product. When you do your custom design product, they will require thousands of copies just because to run the machine, you cannot run 50 or 100.
Of course, yeah.
You have to run like 1,000 at least. Depends, of course, of the product.
Yeah.
So imagine like if you have like multiple parts of that product, each part has to be done at least 1,000 times. Sometimes more, like sometimes it's 5,000 times.
Mm-hmm.
So this can increase, of course, your cost. And if it's your first product, it's a very big investment.
Yeah. And what about in terms of protecting the mold? Like I understand that some people, the mold is taken into the factory to carry out the works and then taken out after the production lines run. Is that your experience or?
So when you have a custom designed mold, which is done for you, you're the owner of that mold.
Yeah.
So when you do the contract, you have to specify that you're actually the owner of that mold. So if you want to bring that mold, for example, overseas, they can ship that for you.
Yeah.
Right? It has to be very clear that you're the owner.
Yeah, but
also,
this is China we're dealing with, so that becomes irrelevant. You've seen the fake iPhones and stuff.
Well, for them also it's very expensive to make a mold. Like if they want to make a copy of that mold, they will not be able to afford. It's very expensive for them, right? Imagine $25,000 it will cost the copy. Also, I make them sign a non-disclosure agreement and non-compete agreement.
Yeah.
Of course, doesn't mean anything for Chinese.
Yes.
It makes you sound serious about the whole business, right? Mm-hmm. And of course, when you do a mold, you can do a design patent, which protects how what it looks like, the product, what it looks like.
Yeah.
So they will not be able to make that exact same copy because it's patent protected. They have to modify that, which again is expensive.
Yeah. So talk me about the patent process. Is there something that you can do filing for yourself? Because literally you can file a patent for a fart, really. There's so many patents out there. Some of them are completely ridiculous. But I suppose it looks good on your listing where it says patent pending. So talk to me about patents. Do you manually file them yourself? What kind of costs are we looking at for filing a patent?
So there are three kinds of patents. So first one is patent pending, which doesn't mean anything. I'll explain in a bit. Then you have patent utility patent, which is the functionality of the product.
Yeah.
And then you have a design patent, which is what the product looks like, the outside of the product, right?
Yeah.
So patent pending means that you filed for a utility patent and you have 1 year to file the application, the real patent application.
Yeah.
So this is not examined by anyone. You can do yourself, and it's about $65 to file a provisional patent.
Right.
Then you have the right to put patent pending on your product.
Yeah.
So it's very straightforward. You can just, with a pen and paper, you can just make a sketch and describe your invention and do a basic sketch of the product and the functionality and whatever, and then you put it in an envelope with the application paper, and then you send it to the patent office. Yeah. So for 1 year, this envelope will sit there, not examined by anyone. It just gives you that heads up so you can start doing your patent later. So let's say you have a successful product, it's funded, you make like hundreds of thousands of dollars of sales. Well, next logical step is to hire a lawyer, with a patent lawyer, so they can file based on that provisional patent. They can extend it and make it like a real patent, which will protect you for 20 years.
Gotcha. So how can we as Amazon sellers reduce a lot of these costs involved, like clever workarounds? Now you've done hundreds of products. Like obviously we know that relatively speaking, like the costs for the beginning process, you generate the ideas, you go to a custom designer or industrial designer, sorry, that cost is plausible. And then you could do, say, 3D printing to get some ideas for the product, etc. And then you get to the mold cost, which is where it could start to get really expensive if you're not doing Kickstarter. And then you've got the pattern thing. Is there like some clever little tricks that you can do where maybe you're making adjustments to a product, but where you're making these adjustments, it's enough to create a pattern, if that makes sense, without going through the full expense of a mold? Is there any way around that, or is there any middle ground to work to? Or like, is there products out there that you could look at and go, actually, the molds on those are not going to be super expensive. So you could spend $600 over here, but your mold's going to cost you, say, $2,000 or $3,000. Therefore, it's more in tune with your budget to like recoup over 2 or 3 shipments.
Yeah. So molds can be remanufactured. So in your case, for example, with the silicone spatula, you can get an existing mold and redo it a little bit so that it becomes a new design. So this can be very inexpensive to do. Yeah. All they have to do is just drill the new design using that existing cavity that they have.
Yeah.
And it will become the new product. It will be unique in the market. And at the same time, if it solves a unique problem, you have a pretty inexpensive solution to that.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah.
So have you done any of that with your products, or they've been completely unique designs and you've gone through, I know you've done 9 successful Kickstarters, but you've done hundreds of products. Have you taken on some of that yourself where you've adapted stuff enough to create a patent? Because at the end of the day, it's about defending your product, creating a little bit of variation on the themes of what is being seen on Amazon. So just wondered if you've done some of that on some of your own products to make it more cost effective.
Absolutely. So you can take an existing product and just modifying, I've done that many times, just modify a little bit, or just add in that same mold, you can add a little bit of, you can add another cavity. Yeah. And just do another, like an adjustment or an add-on to an existing product.
Yeah, because I think that's more cost effective for people that want to move from private label badging a product to then go into the step that we're just talking about, which is modification of an existing mold. And then you can get into developing products. It's got to be an evolution there, isn't there, for growing your business because of needing the cash flow and stuff.
Exactly. So another way is just start with a small product.
Yeah.
So small product can be, the mold for a small product can be about $1,000. So it's not impossible to do. But again, you'll get all the advantage of having a unique product on the market.
Yeah.
So looking for one cavity, small products can be your solution for a first product to start, and then use and scale that and make other.
So explain to the audience what it means by cavity. So if they're looking for products, they're looking to make a 1 cavity mold. Is there any giveaways that they go, oh yeah, that could be made using a 1 cavity mold? Or
yeah, usually how many parts? If it's an assembly of many parts,
yeah,
usually each part needs a separate cavity. So let's take a plastic spoon or a spatula in your example. That's 1 part product. There's nothing attached to it. There's no assembly. There's no bolts, and there's no connection between parts.
Yeah.
This means that it's probably 1 cavity, right?
And then a garlic press is multiple cavities because they've got 2
parts. At least 2, right? You have 2 stuff that go together.
Yeah.
So in this case, you'll have 2 cavities, for example, and then you'll need an assembly, which you have to pay for. Yeah. So for starters, for brand new sellers that want to go to that route, I suggest to start with simple products that have 1 cavity. And we're talking about injection molding, but not every product out there is made of injection molding, right?
Yeah.
There are many kinds of different products that are made out of different materials. Injection molding is usually used for plastic. That's most common use.
Cool.
But yeah, simple product with one part will be a pretty inexpensive solution.
Excellent. Well, look, let's wrap it there. I'd like to get you back in and we can talk about other individual products and the steps that you've taken through. Well, what's the best way to reach you? And do you want to give the audience a little bit of background on RiverClean, the software, etc.?
Yeah, if you want to talk about custom design products, you know that you can reach me at rivercleaner.com/Demirov, which is my second name. I have a program that I'm developing, so you can join early and join that custom design product.
Excellent. And the software, do you want to give a little bit of background on what your software does?
So our software is helping Amazon sellers to optimize the listings based on terms of service and style guides. And we're adding constantly more features like keyword research, keyword tracking, drag and drop emails, everything that makes your life on Amazon easier.
Yeah, and finally, if I can mention this as well, is that you're building a little algorithm for basically machine learning on reviews, aren't you? So you can pull down data. Do you want to explain a little bit about that as well?
So recently, RiverClear acquired a company that was developing a machine learning and artificial intelligence software, and we're redoing it right now so that we can read negative reviews on Amazon, and it will read thousands of reviews, and it will give you in few simple sentences what exactly you need to modify in that product. So we're doing that for 15 years now, reading through the reviews, modifying products, engineering and all that stuff. Reading the reviews and understanding exactly what it is takes a long time. So that's why we're developing that software, which will allow you to really know in few sentences what exactly you need to make, what is the modification that people want. Yeah,
makes total sense. Well, look, thank you again for coming in, guys. Thank you for joining us. I hope you enjoyed the show. We'll be back again soon. Ivelin, thank you very much. And don't forget to subscribe. Take care.